Newly released emails from the Kentucky governor's office show that President Joe Biden planned to nominate a Republican opposed to abortion rights to a lifetime appointment as a federal judge in the state, just a day before the U.S. Supreme Court overturned its landmark 1973 Roe v. Wade ruling. The emails released on Wednesday show correspondence from a White House official advising that Biden intended to nominate Chad Meredith on June 24th to serve as a district court judge. Biden, a Democrat, has been sharply criticized by abortion rights organizations and progressives in his own party since reports emerged last week that the White House was considering Meredith, a former Solicitor General and conservative who has defended abortion restrictions in Kentucky. The White House has declined to confirm the planned nomination ever since the Louisville Courier-Journal first reported the news. A spokesperson on Wednesday said it does not comment on judicial vacancies until nominees are named. An email sent on June 23rd, the day before the Supreme Court reversed Roe v. Wade, shows Kathleen Marshall, a White House senior advisor in the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs, saying Meredith would be nominated the next day. In a June 29th email sent hours before the Courier-Journal's first report on the nomination, Marshall wrote that her original message was, quote, pre-decisional and privileged information. Meredith, now counsel at the law firm Squire Patton Boggs, did not respond to requests for comment. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear and Representative John Yarmouth, both Democrats, opposed the nomination, which Yarmouth said is likely a part of some larger deal on judicial nominations between Biden and Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell, who would be required to approve district court nominees from his home state. Robert Sturrer, a spokesperson for McConnell, said his office won't have a comment until if/when the president makes his nomination.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Eric Ronald Holder, Jr., guilty of the crime of first-degree murder of Ermias Ashkadam.
A 12-person jury found a California man guilty of first-degree murder in the shooting death of Grammy-winning Los Angeles rapper Nipsey Hussle. 32-year-old Eric Ronald Holder, Jr. was convicted Wednesday of killing Hussle, whose given name was Ermias Ashkadam, outside a clothing store the rapper owned in South LA in 2019. Prosecutors said Holder shot Hussle at least 10 times after a chance encounter on a Sunday afternoon in the neighborhood where they both grew up. After a brief conversation, Holder left and returned about 10 minutes later and opened fire, killing Hussle and wounding 2 bystanders. Public defender Aaron Jansen acknowledged that Holder killed Hussle, but argued that he should not be convicted of first-degree murder because the attack was not premeditated. Jansen told jurors that Holder acted in the heat of passion, after Hussle told him there were rumors of him snitching to police, which he considered a serious offense. After the verdict, Deputy District Attorney John McKinney told reporters that jealousy and envy were likely motives behind the murder.
I don't believe that the conversation that they had in the parking lot is all of the motive that Eric Holder had for killing Ermias Ashkadam. I think, as I tried to argue, that it probably was a compilation of factors that included some jealousy, some envy because of his success, his notoriety and love, it being beloved in the neighborhood. There could be something else that we don't know. That's always a possibility, but I don't know of anything other than what it appears to be.
Hussle, who was 33 when he died, had publicly acknowledged that he joined a gang as a teenager. He later became an activist and entrepreneur as he found success with rap music. In 2020, Hussle won 2 posthumous Grammy Awards. Holder faces a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Senator Lindsey Graham will not comply with a subpoena issued by a grand jury in Georgia investigating former U.S. President Donald Trump's alleged attempts to overturn the 2020 election results. That's according to 2 of Graham's attorneys, who said in a statement that Graham was being called as simply a witness in a fishing expedition. The grand jury was selected in May to consider evidence in a probe launched after Trump was recorded in a January 2021 phone call pressuring Georgia's Secretary of State to overturn its election results based on unfounded claims of voter fraud. Members of Trump's former legal team, including Rudy Giuliani, have also been subpoenaed. Georgia's Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, who convened the grand jury probe, said on Wednesday that subpoenas for additional Trump associates should be expected. She declined to rule out a subpoena for Trump himself. Trump has denied wrongdoing in the phone call.
Stocks ended slightly higher on Wednesday after a seesaw session as investors absorbed details on the Federal Reserve's position on interest rates in minutes from its latest policy meeting. Kevin Nicholson, chief investment officer at Riverfront Investment Group, said the minutes from the June meeting showed Fed officials determined to fight inflation.
The Fed reiterated that they're going to continue to be hawkish. Now, this serves as a reminder to investors that the Fed is going to be hawkish because we've been having a bit of a tug of war between recession and inflation fears over the last couple of weeks, and we've seen yields come down in the fixed income markets because of that. But I think that the Fed minutes reiterated that they're going to fight inflation at all costs, and that's why we're seeing yields move up a couple basis points.
Most investors are predicting another 75 basis point interest rate hike at the Fed's next meeting later in July. Meanwhile, a report from the Labor Department on Wednesday showed U.S. job openings fell less than expected in May, pointing to a still tight labor market that could keep the Fed on its aggressive path. The Dow on Wednesday rose about 0.25%, while the S&P 500 and NASDAQ each added about 0.33%. Shares of Uber Technologies and DoorDash fell after Amazon agreed to take a 2% stake in food delivery business Grubhub. Shares of Amazon rose about 0.75%. Shares of Rivian Automotive, which Amazon also has a stake in, gained more than 10% after the EV maker's deliveries nearly quadrupled as it ramped up production. Meanwhile, shares of Tesla, the world's largest electric car maker, fell 0.5%.
Never been in a situation.
Pat Cipollone, White House counsel to former President Donald Trump, has agreed to testify on Friday in a transcribed interview before the congressional committee investigating the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol, according to media reports. Cipollone's actions during the deadly attack were described by witnesses at previous hearings before the House Select Committee.
Pat Cipollone said, yeah, this is a murder-suicide pact.
Cassidy Hutchinson was a top aide to White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows at the time of the attack.
And I remember Pat saying to him something to the effect of, the rioters have gotten to the Capitol, Mark. We need to go down and see the president now. And Mark looked up at him and said, he doesn't want to do anything, Pat. And Pat said something to the effect of, and very clearly, Mark, something needs to be done or people are going to die and the blood's going to be on your effing hands.
The committee subpoenaed Cipollone last week after Hutchinson's testimony. According to a New York Times report confirmed by CNN, Cipollone is appearing under subpoena and his testimony will not be in public. The committee did not immediately respond to a Reuters request for comment. The subpoena followed dramatic public testimony from Hutchinson, who said Cipollone had warned her at the time that they could face every crime imaginable if Trump went to the Capitol on January 6th after delivering a fiery rally speech to his supporters.
We will never give up. We will never concede.
Armed with weapons including AR-15 style rifles, Trump supporters marched to Capitol Hill in a failed effort to prevent lawmakers from certifying Democrat Joe Biden's victory over Trump in the November 2020 presidential election. The committee said in a statement last week that their investigation has revealed evidence that Cipollone repeatedly raised legal and other concerns about President Trump's activities on January 6th.